is we have seen various kind of scheme in subnetting. The first one was fixed length subnetting. So you may have seen in this particular subnetting type that every subnet that we divided into that divide the network into various subnets, and every subnet is of equal size. Okay. In the similar way, we have seen something called variable length subnet masking. So in this particular subnet masking scheme, there may be variable length subnet. Okay, so if you're seeing in fixed length subnet masking, your subnet will look like this 1, 2, 3, 4. But in variable length subnet masking, your subnets will look like this. Okay, so this is unequal parts. Okay, so it is divided into equal parts because when you reserve 1 bit, it will be divided into 2 parts. When you reserve 2 bits, it will be divided into 4 parts. But in this particular theme, you can see that the variable and subnet masking, you can divide the subnets into unequal parts. Okay, so that is the advantage of it. Okay, so again, the on YouTube you can find these lecture. If you have somehow missed it, you can just for your revision you can watch these lectures as well. So just to get the basics out of it. And after that, we have come to our new scheme that is referred to as CIDR. Okay, the full form of it is classless. Now what we have seen till now is everything is tied to a class A, everything is tied to a class B, class C, or class D. Okay, but in this particular subnet masking scheme, we do not need any kind of a class. Okay, so what is the problem with the previous schemes is that I have to there are limited IP addresses. Okay, so if I am in class C, suppose if I am in class C address, and in this particular class C, I only have the last 4 bits. Okay, so the last 4 bits are reserved as host ID. Okay, so when I have reserved this last 4 bits as host ID, so how many total number of networks or IP addresses possible in that? Only 2 raised to power 4, that is around 16. Okay, so if I want more than 2 raised to power 4, I have to again purchase a new network, and again I have to add 16 more, 16 more, 16 more, 16 more, and you can go ahead and try any combination out of it. But if you see in this previous one, we have seen that there it is everything is divided into class. Okay, so when you when you fix 1 bit, it will be divided into 0. It is divided into 1. So this is referred to as your class A, if you remember, and this is referred to as your class B. Okay, so again, in this particular part, what we have done, we have reserved 1 more bit, and again we have divided this into 2 parts. That is your class B, and this is your class C. Okay, now again we divide this particular part into another. So we reserved 1 bit, it is class C, and this one becomes your class D. Okay, so these are the reserved bit, if you remember. So just go into the first lecture, you will of subnetting, you will get it what I'm doing here. Okay, again you go do the procedure one more time, you will get your class D and class E. Okay, so in these two classes, we do not divide the classes into network ID and host ID. Till class C, we divide the classes into network ID and host ID. Okay, so if you're seeing here, the representation looks like that. If you want any IP address, you will get IP address from this class, either this class or from this class. Okay, so there is a proper what you say structure to it. But if I am purchasing some particular network in class C, I will not be able to get many addresses. If I am purchasing some IP address or some network in class A, I will be able to get many addresses, because you know that there are around 16 million IP address in only one network. Okay, so what to do if I just want a custom piece of networking or a custom piece of IP addresses? Suppose I'll say this is the whole what do you say, this is the whole networking spectrum, and I only want like 300 IP addresses. Okay, so I just go ahead and just take out a piece of 300 IP addresses. I don't need to worry about any class, or if it is divided, if it is of class A or class B or class C. I just take a little bit of a piece, and I do not worry about any class, and I just take it out of it. Okay, so that is the advantage of classless interdomain networking. that you do not need to worry about any class, because if you worry about a class, there are many much more complexities that are attached to a class. Okay, so if you are a class C, you can only get these many IP addresses. Okay, so that is the major disadvantage of following a class approach. Okay, so with the classless approach, you can take any piece of chunk. So this is the whole, suppose this is a whole spectrum of network IP addresses that are available. So you can take from this particular chunk, you can take any chunk and you say, I only need 2 IP addresses, or I only need 3 IP addresses, 4 IP addresses. You can go ahead and take any piece of out of it. You do not need to worry about any class. Okay, so for that, now you have to give up the traditional approach that you already know, that in class A there are some things, there is something that is attached to network ID, and there is something that is called a host ID. So if you remember, in class A the network ID is 8 and the host ID is 24. Okay, so in the similar way for class B, class C, class C, there are some part that is denoted to network ID and some part that is denoted to host ID. So you just have to give up that ID. Okay, so instead of this particular scheme, we follow something called or we divide the space into 2 parts. Okay, so divide the space into 2 parts, and these 2 parts are referred to as, in this particular thing, that is referred to as block ID and host ID. Okay, so again, block ID is also referred to as your network ID, or it is also referred to as your subnet ID. Okay, so these three are one and the same thing. Okay, so why I'm using block ID? Because I'm just the block ID, just the name of it, it represent that that we are following a seeder notation. Okay, so that if I'm using block ID name, so this is just a synonym that I am not following any class structured approach. Okay, but keep in mind these three things are used interchangeably. Okay, so now the question will be that how to identify that which class it is. Okay, so keep in mind, you just have to give up the whole idea of classes. You do not need to worry about any class. I do not know any class. I do not know any network ID or a host ID bit, that is already fixed. Okay, so now if what exactly your seeder notation will be, that if I want to denote a particular IP address, it will be something like uh, decimal dot get decimal notation. It will be a plus b, a dot b dot c dot d, and there is something new here, that is this particular thing slash n. Okay, so this slash n, this particular slash n, it indicates the network ID part. Okay, so because if you remember, every uh, network ID or your block ID part. Okay, so keep in mind. Now 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 you are giving the network ID part along with the IP address. Okay, so if you are giving the network ID part along with the IP address, you will be able to find out the host ID. You will be able to find out everything from there. Okay, so I'll show you an example. Suppose this is an example of any IP address. I'm not following any scheme. Suppose 192.168.0.10, and I'm writing here like something as 20. Okay, so if you're thinking here, you will be thinking that this is a class C address, but just just completely forget about this approach. Now the /20 means here, /20 means here is that the network ID part, it has 20 bits. The network ID part contains 20 bits, and the host ID part will contain how many bits? Because the total address space is 32 and the network ID is taking 20 bits. Now the remaining part will be your 12. Okay, so it means that the host ID part is 12. So how many IP addresses are possible? If I ask you that in a network there is 2 raised to power 12 IP addresses are possible. Okay, so you can think of it like that. Okay, so again, do not think about any class. Okay, so in every class, how we are able to divide it into a particular subnets, how we are able to divide it with the help of the network ID or the host ID bits. Okay, so suppose if in class approach, if I give you 192.168.0.1, you already know that because this is a classful addressing. So suppose it's a classful addressing, you already know it denotes /24. What is the meaning of it? That 24 bits are a part of the network ID here. Okay, so again, from this you can easily able to find out the what is the host ID. So you just have to minus from the total address space from 24, you are able to get the host ID part. Now if you're seeing here in class full, you just have this particular thing is already defined, but in classless. Okay, in classless we are not we do not worry about any class. It is classless. You just have to worry about this part. Okay, so if this part is given to you, you can already always able to find out what are the addresses and what are you are going to. Okay, so now the main question is, how can you form a seeder block? Okay, so how to form a seeder block? Seeder is classless interdomain routing. How can you form it? Okay, so there are three rules that are used here to follow a seeder block. Three rules. Okay, so I'm just following the rules here. The first rule, it's very simple, that all IP addresses should be contiguous. Okay, so all IP addresses should be contiguous. Contiguous means that that it follow. I'll show you the example of it. Okay, so suppose your IP address is something like 192.168.0.1. So the next will be 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. It should not be like that 1 dot 3 dot 5 something. It will not make sense. Okay, so it is correct, but if you follow something like this 192.168.0.1 and then 0.5 and then 0.8, this is wrong. Okay, so the first rule is that if you want to take a seeder block, means that if you want to take seeder block, this particular thing is referred to as your seeder block. Okay, so what are the rules attached to it? That all the IP address should be continuous. Contiguous or continuous means that there should not be break in between. So all the network address should be contiguous. The second rule is that all blocks or the block size, I'll say the block size here. The block size is referred to as the size of this particular IP addressing that you are taking into account. Okay, so this will be your block, and the block size should be the power of 2. Should be the power of 2. Okay, so this is a very important thing. Okay, so now why most of the if you are going in operating system, if you are going in computer architecture, you will always see that in OS the paging, if you go towards the paging and segmentation part, again the size there you will see the paging size or the page size will always in the power of 2, will always be in the power of 2. And in the similar way, the cache size or the block size of cache, it's also it always be in the power of 2. Okay, so if you know computer architecture, you may have uh, known about the finding tag or other things. They always be in the power of 2. Okay, so the main question is why everything, if you see in computer size, is in the power of 2. Okay, so I'll show you. This is a very important and it's a very interesting concept here. Okay, so I'll take a simple example, because suppose I have something like 1011. Okay, so now I already told that when you are dividing something, you in computer science, if you are dividing something, it's very easy. Now why it is very easy? Because everything is in the power of 2. Suppose I divide this particular number. What is the number here? This is 11. Okay, so if I divide the number 11 by 2 raised to power 1. Okay, so what is it? I'm dividing the number that is 11 by 2 raised to power 1 is already know, it is 2. Okay, so what is the answer here? So the answer here, this is your quotient. I think this is your quotient. The answer here will be 2 5s the 10, and your remainder here is this. Okay, so now take a look at it. The remainder here I am denoting it as in binary it is 1, and the remainder here in quotient I am denoting it as 101. Okay, so now look at it. You will start to observe the pattern here. Now see, if I divide it into 2 raised to power 2. Okay, so that is 2 raised to power 2 is 4. So if I divide 11 by 4, so what is the quotient here will be? The quotient here will be 4 2s the 8, and the remainder here will be 3. Okay, so now see, the remainder here I'm writing it in binary. So the remainder here is 2, that is 10, and the the remainder here is 3, that is 1 1, and the quotient here is 3, quotient here is 2, that is 1 0. Okay, in a similar way, observe this. If I divide this particular into 2 raised to power 3, okay, so what it is 8 divided by 11, so it is 8 once the 8, and you will get the remainder as 3. So if I am writing out the quotient is 1, that is 1, and the remainder here is 3, that is again 1 1. Okay. Yeah, I think it is 2 to the 4. I think this is same. Just wait a second. This should be same. The remainder part. Yeah, okay, it's correct. There is no problem in that. Okay. So now if I divide it by 4, so you should be starting to observe the pattern here. Okay. So just I'll complete this one. So 2 raised to power 4 is 16, I think. Yeah. 16. So I don't think there will be anything. Okay, so you can think of it like 0, and you can the remainder will be 11. Okay, so I can write the 11 as 1011, and what is the quotient here? Quotient here is 0. Okay, so now observe the pattern here, that when it is divided by 2 raised to power 1. Okay, so when it is divided by 2 raised to power 1, the most the most significant bit, the most significant one bit is the remainder. Oh, sorry, the least significant bit, the least significant one bit is the remainder, and the most significant 3 bit are the quotient. Okay, now when I'm dividing it by 2, the least significant 2 bits are the remainder here, and the most significant 2 bits are the quotient here. In the similar way, when I divide it by 3, the least significant 3 bit are the remainder here. So it is 0 1 1. You can think of it like that, because 0 1 1 or 1 1, it's one and the same thing, it's 3. Okay, so the least significant 3 bit is your remainder, and the most significant 1 bit, the remaining 1 bit, is your quotient. In the similar way, when I divide it by 4, the most significant 4 bits are the remainder, and the least the remaining, there is nothing remaining, so you can add a 0 to it. Whatever it is, your answer is 0. Okay, so if you're thinking about it, the computer does not actually divide it. So if you're thinking about it, it is not actually dividing. When it is dividing, actually it is just taking the least significant bit and the most significant bit from a binary number. So that is why, if you're seeing, this particular scheme is so much popular, that the calculation part is very easy. So you do not actually have to divide it, you just have to take the least significant bit or the most significant bit. That depends on the 2 raised to power part. So that is why your block size, your page size, or your in your cache in computer architecture, your tag size will always be in the power of 2. So that is the important part. Okay, so if I just generalize it, if I say that again, that I have an address space, of n bit. Okay, so again I'm taking the same thing. If I have an address space of n bit, if I reserved some k bit, so this particular part will be n minus k bit. Okay, so again, if I say that if I uh, if I divide this particular n bit part, okay, so if I divide n bit part into 2 raised to power k bit, okay, so if I divide this n bit part into 2 raised to power k bit, now the what is the LSB here and what is the MSB here? Okay, so LSB will be your remaining k bits. LSB will be your remaining k bits. Okay, and the MSB will be your remaining n minus k bits. Okay, so you think of it like that. Okay, so when you're dividing it means you're dividing it, the n bit space, into this particular part. Okay, so when you're dividing it, the least significant k bits, will be your remainder, and the most significant n minus k bits, because the remaining part is this, will be your quotient here. Okay, so keep that in mind. So it is again based on the same thing. Okay, So now why it is important here. So I'll show you. Suppose you have a block size. You have a block size of 2 raised to power 5. Okay. So if you have a block size of 2 raised to power 5, what it actually means is you have 32-bit space. Okay. So your block size is 32-bit. So this is your 32-bit space. Okay. So now if you divide it by 2 raised to power 5. Okay, so now what it means is that you are taking this particular part and reserving it, reserving the 5 bits here. Okay, so when you do it, what will happen here? So the least significant 5 bits, this 5 bits will be your remainder, and the most significant 32 minus 5 bits, what is it? It is 27. Okay, so the most significant 27 bits, the most significant 30 for 27 bits will be your quotient. Now what is the meaning of it here? This will be your block ID part and this will be your host ID part. Okay, so I'll make it clear. Don't worry about it, this part. I will make it clear. Okay, so now the first rule is that all IP should be contiguous in nature. And the second rule is the block size should be a power of 2. I'll show you with the example. Don't worry about it. Now the third rule, that is the final rule, third and the final rule is the first IP address. That the first IP address should be divisible, should be completely divisible. Okay, the first IP address in the block should be evenly divisible. Okay, so this is the proper wording here. Should be completely divisible or evenly divisible. Okay, so again it is very easy to check that. Okay, so how it is very easy to check that? Suppose I'll show you with examples, so you will get it that what is the meaning of it. Okay, so now I'll take examples. So suppose you have given some block. Okay, so like 10.1.2.32 33 up to 47. Okay, so 10.1.2.47. Okay, and you have asked that whether these IPs form a cider block. Okay, so how to check it? So again you have to see if it is following the 3 rules, the first 3 rules. Then you can say that these particular IPs are forming a cider block. Okay, what is the first rule? The first rule is that it should be contiguous. Okay, so if you're seeing here 20, 32, 33, 34 up to 47, it is contiguous. Okay, so this particular first rule is correct. It is continuous in nature, so you can say it is correct. The second one is it should the total block, that the total size of it should be in the power of 2. So you can check it. So from 32 to 47, actually what will be, how many IP addresses are there? So it will be 32 minus 47 minus 32, it is 15 plus 1, it is 16. Okay, so again when you are dividing it, again I'll show you how to calculate it, because some of the students have, again many students have this doubt. So suppose from 1 2 3 4, actually there are 4 IP addresses. Okay, but when you calculate it, you will calculate it like that, 4 minus 1, so it is resulting in 3. Okay, so if you're seeing here, if you do this 4 minus 1, you will get a 3, but actually there are 4 IP addresses, so that is why I am adding 1 to it. Okay, in the similar way, when I subtract 47 minus 32, it is actually 15, and I'm adding 1 to it. Okay, so because when we are calculating, there is always one part that will not be calculated by it. So when we are subtracting, okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so it is saying that it is 16, the size of it is 16 IP addresses from 32 to 47. It is 16 IP addresses, so it means that it is a power of 2. So you can write it like 2 raised to power 4. So the second rule is also correct. Okay, second rule was that it should be the size of the block should be a power of 2. Okay, so the size of the block is actually a power of 2, that is 2 raised to power 4. So that is also correct. Now the third question is that the first IP address should be evenly divisible by 4. Okay, so this is 10.1.2.32. Okay, so when you divide this, again follow the same approach. If if it is completely divisible by this IP address, so the remainder should be 0. Okay, so you already know this. If the remainder is 0, you can all directly say that it is evenly divisible by the whole IP address. Okay, so what you do, again, when you are again follow the same approach, when you are dividing this particular into a by the power of 2, you already know what happens, that the least significant 4 bits, the least significant 4 bits should be the remainder, and the most significant whatever is the answer here, I think 32 minus 4, the most significant 4 28 bits will be your quotient. So I do not need to worry about the quotient. So if this is completely divisible, so if this is completely divisible, I should get a remainder of 0. It means I should get the least significant 4 bits as 0. If I am able to get it, I can directly say that it is completely divisible by it. Okay, so if you write it like this, 10.1.2, now what is 32? 32 is 0, 0, 0. So just let me write it. 1, 2, 4, 16 and 32. Okay, so now when you divide it, what will happen, because it is divided by 2 raised to power 4 here, so the least significant 4 bit is the remainder here. What is the least significant 4 bit here? That is all zeros. Okay, so if the remainder is 0, it means it is completely divisible by the block. Okay, so if the third condition is also correct, that the first IP address of the block should be divisible by 4. Okay, so that is how you can directly say that this is a correct CIDR block. Okay, because it is following the 3 rules. That is one thing. Okay, now your main concern will be okay, so I'll also, I think I should write it here, that the first IP address in the block should be evenly divisible by the block size. So I have not written it. So it should be evenly divisible by the block size. It means that A.B.C.D, that is the first IP address, should be divisible by the block size, that is 2 raised to power n here, whatever is the block size, because we already know in second rule we have confirmed that the block size should be in the power of 2. Okay, so that is there. Okay, so now again, actually you do not actually have to divide it, but you just have to again follow that trick. What is the trick? That if you're dividing by 2 raised to power 4, the least significant 4 bits should be 0. So that is your remainder. If it is 0, you can directly say it is divisible. There is no need to check it. Okay. Another thing now. Another thing is that we do not know the network ID part, and we do not know the host ID part. Okay. So now, what is the network ID part in this particular CIDR block, and how many bits are the host ID part in a particular CIDR block? Okay, so the network ID part will always be correspond to sorry, the host ID part. Okay, so just let me confirm it. So it is very confusing. So just this particular thing you have to remember, that whatever is the block size. Now, what is the block size here? It is 2 raised to power 4. Okay, so now actually there is no need to remember it. So what is the meaning of it? So it is the second rule say that the block size, the size of the block should be in the power of 2. Okay, so it means if it is in the power of 2, it means it has 16 IP addresses. Okay, so there are 16 IP addresses that are available. So how many bits are required to generate 16 IP addresses? That is 4 bits. Okay, so you can directly say that host ID part contain 4 bits, because from 4 bits you will be able to generate 16 IP addresses, out of which 2, the first one is your network ID part and the last one is your DBA part. We will not use that, but total IP addresses that can be generated by it is 4. That you can directly write it here, that the host ID part contains 4 bit, and what is the network ID or block ID? It will be 32 minus 4, that is your 28 bits. Okay, so you can easily tell what is the network ID part. So network ID part contains 28 bits and the host ID part here contains 4 bits. So if you want to write it, what is the CIDR notation here? Okay, so if you want to write this particular block in form of CIDR notation, so what you do, the first you already know the first part is your network ID part or your block ID part, and the last part is your DBA. Okay, so you cannot, you know that you cannot use these two particular addresses. Now the network ID or block ID part is 10.1.2. So CIDR notation will be 10.1.2.32, and you have to do a slash. Now with the slash, you have to write the network ID part. What are the network ID part bits here? That is 28 bits. Okay, so that is the CIDR notation. That is the CIDR notation for this particular block. That is from 10.1.232 to 10.1.2.47. Okay, so that is how you do it. Okay, so I'll take another example if you again have some if you have some doubts about it. Okay, so I'll take another example. Again, it will be on the same lines here. Okay, so just take it something like 192.168. So I'll form like from 32. Okay, so I'll just take size of 32. So from 32 to I'll take 63. Okay, so now the first is that it should be continuous. So it is continuous. So there is 32, 33, 34, 34 up to 63. Okay, so it is 192.168.30.63. So the first part is your network ID or your block ID part, and the last part is your DBA. You already know this. Okay, so DBA. So first part is contiguous. This is correct. The second part is should be in the size should be in the power of 2. So what you do, 63 minus 32, it will be 31. You add 1 to it, you will get 32. Okay, so you can write it like 2 raised to power 5. Okay, so it means I can generate, there are total 32 IP addresses. Okay, so what is the meaning of it? That the host ID part will have 5 bits, and the network ID part will have 32 minus 5. Okay, so that will be, I think, 27 bits. Yeah. Okay, so now the third is that that the first IP address, that is just wait for a second, I'll take this third. Okay, so the first IP address of the block should be completely divisible by the size of the block. Okay, so what is the size of the block here? It is 192.168.30.32 divided by 2 raised to power 5. Okay, so if it should be completely divisible by it, so the most significant 5 bits should be 0. Okay, so if it is 0, it is completely divisible by it. Okay, so now check it. 192.168.30. What is 32 here? I think it is divisible. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and then 32, 64, 128. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, I'll check it. 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Yeah, okay. So now check the least significant 5 bits should be 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the least significant 5 bits are 0. So it means that it is completely divisible by this number. Okay, the first address of it. So this is also correct. So you can say that this is the correct CIDR block. This is the correct CIDR block. And what will be the CIDR notation here? So the CIDR notation here will be the network ID or the block ID. What is the network ID here? It is 192.168.30.32, and you have to write a slash, and you have to write the network ID, that is 27 bits here. So that is the proper CIDR notation. Okay, so that is how you do it. Okay, so in this particular case, this is very to identify a CIDR block, it is very easy. Okay, so now now what is remaining here? So CIDR representation is also done. So this is your CIDR representation. Keep in mind, so this is very important. Okay, so in many questions they just ask you to just say how the for this particular block, for this particular CIDR block, what is the CIDR notation, or what is the CIDR representation? Okay, So this is a CIDR notation, or you can say CIDR representation of a block. Now, why it is a CIDR representation of a block here? Because from this representation, you can be able to extract out the whole block. Okay, so if I only give you this particular notation, you will be able to extract out the whole block. So what is the meaning of it? So I'll tell you that suppose this CIDR notation is given. This one 10.1.2.32/28. Okay, so I'll say, how can you extract the block? How can the block is extracted from CIDR notation? Okay, so you are given only CIDR notation, that is 20, what is it, 20.1.2.32, sorry, 10.1.2.32/28. 10.1.2.32/28. Okay, so you are only given this. Okay, so now from this you have to extract out the whole block, whole CIDR block. Now how can you do it? So what is the block ID here? Block ID bits are 28. This, yeah, just wait a second. So okay, so I don't need to worry about it. So the block ID part or your network ID bits are 28 bits. What is the host ID part? Host ID part will be just minus from 32. So you will get, I think 5 bits. Yeah, 28. Yeah, 5 bits. Just let me verify it. I think I've made a mistake here. Yeah, it is 01 because this is 32. Yeah, so I'm dividing it by, so I'll get 28. Sorry, so 32 minus 28 is host ID part is 4 bits. Okay, so how can you extract the block here? So what do? You take the network ID address, so it can be this one 1.2.32. So you just take a look at the least significant 4 bits. Okay, so just write the 32 here. So it will be suppose 0 0, then 1, then followed by 5 zeros. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so you now take a look at the least significant 4 bits. What is it? That will be your least significant 4 bits here. Okay, just wait a second. Yeah, okay, so that will be your least significant 4 bits. Now if you want to extract out the CIDR block, what you do, so this is 32 now, because this is the part of the host ID part, so you can go ahead and write 33 here, go ahead and write 34. Now what is the maximum number you can get? It is 1111. Okay, so what is it? It is 15. So 32 plus 15, you will get 47. Okay, so what is the CIDR block here? CIDR block here will be from 10.1.2.32 to till 10.1.2.47. Okay, so that is how you get it. Okay, so again, you only need to worry about the host ID part. Okay, so once you know the host ID part, so this is the host ID part, so you can go ahead and find out the total what are the IP addresses that are available in this particular network. Okay, so that is how you go about it. Okay, so in a similar way for this you can also extract it out, because already the answer is given to you, that this one. So from this, again, the CIDR notation, one more thing, that it is there is no compulsion that you will use the first IP address here. Okay, so like here it is written 192.168.30.32. There is no compulsion that you only use this. You can also use another address. So this is also correct, that if I use 192.168.30.32, 192.33/27. So this particular notation is also correct. Okay, because when you write 33, you already know that there are 5 bits that are a part of your host ID. So first you write all zeros, then 1, then 2, 2, then 3. You can again extract out the block for for any kind of IP. Okay, so here it can be 33, 34, 35, 62. Here it is also correct. So the CIDR notation does not just say that you only use the first IP address here and you write a slash here. You can use any IP address from it, because from any IP address you can extract out the block. Okay, so suppose here it was written as 33. Suppose it is written as 33. So what will happen here? It will become 33 here. Okay, so here this will become 33. So now when you want to find the first address of this block, what you do? You write here all zeros. Okay, so when you write here all zeros, you will again get 32 here, and you will get here and you will get 47. Okay, so that is the meaning of it. Okay, so now you are able to know that what is a CIDR block. You are able to know how to identify a CIDR block if it is following the 3 rules. Okay, so now there is only one thing remaining, that is your subnetting. Okay, so subnetting is again a very easy part. If you understand the previous subnetting part, it's very easy. Okay, so I'll just take the same example and I'll take 4 subnets here. Okay, so I'll divide the particular block into 4 subnets inside. Okay, so just take any notation here. So I can take notation. It will be easy for me if I take like class C. So I'll say 192.168.1.2/24 or 25. So you can take anything. Okay, so /25, it does not identify with any class because it is already given you the network ID. So the network ID bits are 25 bits. So the remaining bits will be host ID part. So the host ID part will be 32 minus 25. Okay, so I think it is 7, 8. Yeah, it is 7. Yeah. Okay, so now what can you do if you want 4 subnets in a CIDR notation? What you do, this is your network. So what is the IP address of it? It is 192.168.1. I'll start with 0 here. Do not need to go to that complex. Okay, so it is 0 here. So it is /25 here. So what is the meaning of it? Means that /25 here means that what can I say about this? /25 means that we have 25 network ID and the host ID part. So I have to identify the host ID part. So I write this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this part is your host bit ID part. So what I do, I'll just fix 1 bit from here. Okay, so if I fix 1 bit from here, what will happen here? It will be here, it will be fixed. So sorry, I'll have to fix 2 bits. Okay, because I want to divide it into 4 parts. It will be 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. Okay, so you go ahead and you can again identify what will be the range. Okay, so I'm going ahead, I'll write 192.168.1.00. Okay, so this 0 is already fixed here because /25, it's a part of the network ID part. So this 0 is already fixed here, keep in mind. So I'm fixing these zeros. Yeah, I think it should be it. This 0, and I'll get what I will get is this is your network ID part. Keep in mind, I cannot do anything about it. This is your host ID part. From here I have fixed it and start with it. So 3 and you will get here 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you start with the first one, that is 0, and then 1, then 2, up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 ones here. So I think it is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. That is up to 31. Okay. So the first range is 0 to 31, where this particular 0 represents your block ID or network ID part, and this 31 represents your directory broadcasting address. Okay. In the similar way for this one, if you find it out, it will be from, again I write it it is 0. So I'm just writing the last octet here, 0, 0, 1. So this particular bit is fixed here. I'm not doing anything about it. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is 32. You can find it out, and you can go ahead till you can add 32 plus 31, you will get 63 here. Okay, so the range here for this particular subnet 1 will be from 32 to 63. Okay, so here this will be your block ID, and this will be your directed broadcasting address. In the similar way, you can go ahead and find it out. It will be from 64 to 95. So the range is same. There is no problem in that. And from here, it will be from 96 to, I think, 255. Just wait a second. Yeah, from 96 to, I think I made a mistake here, not 255, from 96 to 127. Okay, so you can go ahead and follow the same procedure that we have already done many times. Okay, so you can easily able to extract it out. Now the main question is, what is the subnet mask here? Okay, so the subnet mask is actually represented a bit differently. So again, if you want to write a CIDR notation, okay, so for this one, if you are seeing here, the CIDR notation of the whole network is given as 192.168.1.0/25 here. Okay, so it means that we have 25 bits as a network ID part. Now we have also fixed 2 bits here. Okay, so we have also fixed these 2 bits as a host, as a subnet ID. Okay, so include this. If you want to find a subnet mask, what is a subnet mask here? You write zeros to the host ID part, and you write ones wherever there is a SID, or there is a block ID, or there is a network ID part. Okay, so with 25 we already know, with 25 we already know it is 255.255.255, 25 ones. Okay, so these are 20, it will be 8 ones, 8 ones here, 8 ones here, so it is 24 ones, and 1 here, so it is 25 ones now. So again, there are 2 ones are included here for the subnet ID part. So write 2 ones here. So 2 ones, and the remaining host ID part. What is the host ID part? 5 bits are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So what is your subnet ID in this case will be? It is 3 ones here. So it is 128 plus 64 plus 32. Okay. So I think it is 6, 3, 9, 9, 12, 224. Okay, so the subnet mask is represented as 255.255.255.224. Now in this CIDR notation, you will write the subnet. You can also write the subnet mask as how can I write it? I can write it as slash how many ones are there? There are 27 ones are there. So you can write the subnet mask like this, 27 ones. Okay, so again, this notation is very intuitive, because this represent this particular notation also represent the subnet mask here. Okay, so this is also the subnet mask as well. This is also the network ID part. Okay, so subnet mask means that by writing by writing a 27 here means that because you already know this is a 20, there are 27 bits are a part of the either a subnet ID or the network ID part. So it means that there are 27 ones. Okay, so for subnet mask, you can easily extract from this particular statement if you write /27 here. Okay, so suppose I'll write it. Okay, so I'll give you the first subnet notation. So properly I'll give you subnet 0. Okay, so what is subnet 0? Actually, it is 192.168.1.0. Now it is changed here. So it is not /25, it is /27. Okay, so the network ID part is this particular first address, and the DBA is your 31 part. And if you want to write the subnet mask, you can directly write the subnet mask as /27, or you can write the subnet mask as 255.255.255.224. Either of these notations are correct. There is no problem. Okay, so now till here, if you are understanding this, what we have done till now is that we have taken /25 mask. Slash 25 mask means that we have taken slash 25 network ID part. This is slash 25 and we have divided into 4 parts. Okay, so we have divided it into 4 parts. The first part will contain slash 27. Second part will also contain slash 27. Third part will also contain slash 27 and the fourth part will also contain slash 27. Okay, so that is how we do it. Okay, so till here, if anybody has any problem, just let me know. Again, I am doing everything very same that we have already done. The only difference there is that we are doing everything in now a CIDR block rather than we are using any classful addressing here. This is all classless addressing. Okay, so you only need this particular part to identify what is the network ID part. From the network ID part, you will get the host ID. From the host ID, you will be able to divide the network into subnets. Okay. Again, the similar approach is also used in VLSM, that is variable length subnet masking. Okay, so you can go ahead and also perform this one. So I'll again take the same example here, that is 192.168.1.0 slash if it is 25 there. So what you do again, you can take like that. So when you divide it, the first part here will be fixed as 0. This will be 1. When you divide this particular part, it will be 1 0 and it will be 1. Okay, so now if you want to find out the range here, it will be 192.168.1 and here will be first 0 is reserved because it is a network ID part here and the remaining 7 zeros are there, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and you can go ahead and find out the range. So the maximum range I can get it will be from 0 to 127. Okay, so if you want to write the CIDR notation, now see the subnet mask here will be different. Okay, so if I write the CIDR notation for this particular block, it will be 192.168.1.0 slash. Now when you are writing a slash, you have to include the subnet ID. Here only one bit I have fixed here. Sorry, here I only fixed one bit here, that is 0 here. So here the slash part will be 25 is already there and you have to include the subnet ID part, it will be 26. Okay, but here you have included 2 bits here. Okay, so the slash here will be 27 and the slash here will be 27 because 25 network ID part is already there and I have fixed one bit here, one bit is fixed here, so it will become 20. From 25 it will become 26 and from this particular subnet 1 here it will become 27 because 2 bits are fixed. Okay, so when you find out the range will be very similar that you have already find it out in the variable and subnet masking. Okay, so if you have any doubt in that, I'll just write I can go ahead and write the range. I can just go ahead and write whatever you will get here. So it will be 10, so it will be from 128 till 128 because the 2 zeros are fixed here. So 128 plus 63. Okay, so just let me write it. It is 191. Okay, so it is from the range is from 128. It is from 192 to 255. Okay, so again the same procedure will be followed. The only difference here will be that the notation here will be written like this. The CIDR notation will be 192.168.1.128 slash 27. Okay, here if you write the CIDR notation, it will be 192.168.1.192 slash 27. Why it is 27? Because 2 bits are included. 2 bits here are included as a subnet ID part. Okay, so that is why the 2 bits are added here. So if you're seeing here, if I write this correctly, so if it is, so if I go ahead and I can write like this, so if it is slash 25, if I started with slash 25, what happens is that I will be able to divide it into 2 parts. The first part is slash 26 and the second part is also slash 26, but I'm again dividing this particular part into again further more part, that is slash 27 and slash 27. Okay, so because here again I have reserved one more bit, so that is why the mask has changed. Okay, so you can go ahead and again if you want to find it out, you can do the subnetting like this or subnetting like this, you will get the same thing. Okay, so whatever you want. Okay, so till here, I think I have finished the subnetting part. Okay, so what we have covered till now, I have started with the fixed length subnet masking. It is also covered in your lab as well. Another one is variable length subnet masking. It is also covered in your lab. If it is not covered in your lab, it will be in this week. Okay, so some classes are not able to cover this, so if it will be covered in this week. And now I have covered something called a CEDAR notation. Okay, so in CEDAR notation, we have seen the fixed length subnet masking as well as the variable length subnet masking scheme, as well as have we seen the rules of CEDAR blocks. Okay, what are the rules of it? Okay, so we have done till now. So the subnetting part is completely over. So only one or two things are remaining. So I'll include one or two more questions. Okay, so they are, because you will not get confused, I will include some questions so towards it. So after that we will start tomorrow super netting. Okay, so I'll try to release the updated answer key today by the end of the day, and I'll try to release the updated marks as well. Okay, so you just have to go there, the previous link. You can by the end of the day you can check till tomorrow that your marks will be updated on the same Google Sheet. Okay, so thank you for listening, and you can move on to the next one. If you have any doubt, just let me know.